Hi, it's John Kelly. In this module, we are going to discuss the requirements of professional standards for the audit of inventory. And as always, we want to be efficient and effective, follow professional standards, and document what we have done properly. Now, inventory is unique in professional standards because it is the only area in which standards prescribe a specific procedure. In almost every other area, there's always going to be an alternative procedure we could do, or a procedure may only be required if the risk of material misstatement is really high. So in all of the rest of the standards, the auditor chooses the procedures to address assertions, and in this section, it's prescribed. And the thing that is prescribed is we must attend the inventory count. And if we forget or if we don't, we have a qualified opinion, and there's probably nothing we can do. There's probably no alternative procedure that will replace attending the inventory count. And there are 4 things we have to do at the inventory count in professional standards. And the first 2 and the last 2 are kind of different because the first 2 are really us evaluating the client's system of internal control and seeing if their system of internal control, which exists for 1 day only, is working and will achieve an appropriate count. And having done that and concluded that the way they're counting it is probably going to work, we will then both inspect inventory. That's a substantive procedure, and we're trying to see whether or not inventory is obsolete. And then we will perform test counts. So we will evaluate the count procedures. That's a control test. We will observe the count to see whether the controls are working. That's another control test. We will then inspect the inventory, substantive test, looking for things like obsolescence. And we will then perform test counts, another substantive test. And the extent of all of those is up to us, but we must do something in each of the 4. The other thing that's required by standards is we need to see if the count results are accurately reflected in the final inventory listing. And that we can always do later, so that's not particularly onerous. If we forget to do it, we can always go back and do it again. Other requirements: if we don't count at year end, and that's acceptable, the client may decide they want to count at the end of November because December is tough with holidays and things like that, so that's fine. Or they could count at the end of January for a December year end, and then we would either roll forward or roll back. If we can't make the year end count for some reason, we would then count at another date, and that's probably only going to work if the client has good perpetual records. So we can't make the year end count at December 31st, but we could go at some other time and see if the perpetual records are good. I actually had a client that had a very, very good inventory system, and they did cycle counts, so they never counted at year end. So we just chose a convenient time to visit and visited and checked to see whether or not the perpetual records were as good as the client said they were, and they always were. And we didn't particularly have to worry about a year end count. We observed inventory at another time. Now, they do give you a note. If it's impracticable to attend inventory, maybe we can do something else. Maybe we can check subsequent sales, and that will satisfy us that the inventory must have existed at year end. And if that doesn't work, we have to qualify our audit opinion. The other advice it gives us: if inventory is held by a third party, we have to do something. We could get a confirmation. We could go and visit and count. There are other things that we could do, and that's in paragraph 8 of 501. 501A1 to 12 have lots and lots of guidance on how we might do the count and do those procedures. And of course, we need to document what we have done. And the best way to do this is to develop a really good audit program and a really good inventory count checklist to make sure that we do all the things we are supposed to do on the day of the count. So inventory is an unusual section. It's the only section where standards require a specific procedure. So, thanks for listening.